Let me ask you something. When your alarm went off this morning, what was the very first thing you did? If you're like most people, you reached for your phone. Maybe you told yourself it'd just be a second. Check the time, see if anyone texted, scroll a little. And then suddenly it's 20 minutes later and you've already absorbed someone else's drama, someone else's opinions, someone else's world, before you've even brushed your teeth. And here's the thing nobody talks about. That one habit, that one decision in the first 30 seconds of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Your focus, your mood, your ability to actually be present for the things that matter. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a morning routine that changed how I function. And I want to be honest with you up front. It does not require waking up at 4 a.m. There's no ice bath, no hour-long meditation, just 5 simple, science-backed habits that real people can actually stick to. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into the habits, I have to address something, because if you've tried to build a morning routine before and it didn't stick, I want you to know it probably wasn't your fault. We've been sold this picture of what a morning is supposed to look like. 5 a.m. wake up, cold shower, 40 minutes of journaling, a gym session, meditation, green juice, all before 8 in the morning. And maybe you've tried some version of that, and it went well for, 3 days, maybe 4. And then life happened. You stayed up late, work got crazy, the baby didn't sleep, and the whole thing fell apart. And the cruel part is, when those routines collapse, we don't blame the routine. We blame ourselves. We think, I'm just not a morning person, or I don't have the discipline. But that's not true. The problem is that those routines weren't designed for actual human beings with actual lives. The goal isn't a perfect morning. The goal is a consistent one. Small, doable, repeatable. That's what actually moves the needle over time. So let's build something that works. Habit number 1. And this might be the most powerful thing on this entire list, even though it sounds almost too simple. Protect the first 10 minutes of your morning. No phone, no news, no social media, not even your messages. Just 10 minutes where your thoughts are still yours. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. When you wake up, your brain is in this beautiful, calm, slightly foggy state. It's not fully on yet. And that window, before the noise rushes in, is actually when you have the most access to your own thinking, your creativity, your intentions, your sense of self. The moment you open your phone, that window slams shut. You go from being the author of your morning to being a character in someone else's story. And there's also a physical piece to this. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is naturally elevated in the first hour after you wake up. It's your body's way of getting you alert. But when you add the stimulation of a phone, the notifications, the news, the comparisons, you're essentially throwing fuel on a fire that's already burning. That's why so many people feel anxious before they've even got out of bed. So what do you do instead? Honestly, whatever feels right to you. Sit in silence. Pray. Breathe slowly. Stretch a little. Make your coffee and just be in the room. The point isn't what you do. The point is that you do it on your own terms, before the world has its say. And a practical tip that actually works: charge your phone in another room. Not because you need a rule, but because if it's not within arm's reach, you won't reach for it on autopilot. Small friction, big difference. Habit 2. This one is so simple that every time I mention it, people nod like, yeah, I know. And then they go make their coffee first. Drink a glass of water before you do anything else. You've just been asleep for 7 or 8 hours. you haven't had a single drop of water, and your brain, which is about 75% water, is running on empty. That foggy, slow, I can't think straight feeling you get in the morning. A lot of the time, that's not laziness, that's dehydration. And it affects your concentration, your mood, even how quickly you process information. One glass of water before your coffee, before your breakfast, and most people notice a shift within minutes. Not dramatic, but real. And you don't need to make it complicated. You don't need lemon. You don't need to measure the temperature, just water. Plain, room temperature water. The simplest version of this habit is also the most effective. Here's a trick. Put a glass on your nightstand the night before. When you wake up, it's right there. You don't have to think about it. That's the whole system. Habit 3. And this one hits different when you actually start doing it. Every morning, before the day gets going, ask yourself one question. If I only accomplish one thing today, what would make this day feel like a success? Not 20 things, not a full to-do list. One thing. Write it down. Here's the problem with how most of us operate. We run through the day ticking boxes, answering emails, attending meetings, crossing things off lists. By evening, we've done a lot, but we still feel vaguely unsatisfied. Like we were busy but not quite present. Because being busy and being productive are two completely different things, and we confuse them all the time. When you name the one thing that actually matters, your anchor for the day, everything else gets organized around it. Not ignored, just put in its proper place. And there's real research behind this. When you write down a specific goal, you're significantly more likely to follow through on it. The act of writing it makes it concrete. It becomes a commitment to yourself, not just a thought floating around in your head. Your intention doesn't have to be a work task either. Sometimes it's, be patient with my kids tonight. Sometimes it's, finish that chapter. Sometimes it's, take a walk at lunch and actually breathe. Whatever it is, name it, own it. Then let your day move toward it. Habit 4. And I want to be really clear about what I'm not saying here. I'm not saying go to the gym. I'm not saying run 5 kilometers before sunrise. I'm not saying anything that requires a sports bra and a pre-workout shake at 6 a.m. None of that. I'm saying move your body for 5 minutes. That's it. Think about it. Your body has been completely still for 8 hours, and movement is what signals to your brain that it's time to be awake. It's almost like a switch. A few stretches, a short walk to the end of your street and back, jumping around to a song you love in your kitchen. Genuinely, any of it works. Here's the science bit. Movement triggers the release of dopamine, and dopamine is the chemical of motivation, of drive, of, yes, let's do this. And here's the thing most people get backwards. We wait until we feel motivated to move. But that's not how it works. You move first, and the motivation follows. You don't earn it by feeling ready. You create it by starting. And the other piece, if you can do this outside, even better. Natural morning light helps reset your circadian rhythm, which affects your sleep, your energy, your mood. Even 5 minutes outside in the morning has a measurable effect. The real magic of this habit is what happens after those 5 minutes. Most people, once they start, just keep going. Because the hardest part was never the workout. It was the starting. Make the bar so low, it's almost impossible not to clear it. And then let momentum do the rest. Last habit. And this one ties everything together. We've talked about protecting your mind, hydrating your body, setting your direction, moving your energy. Now, what are you actually putting in? Because here's what I've noticed. What you consume in that first hour of the day quietly shapes how you see everything else. If the first thing you absorb is drama, bad news, arguments, someone's highlight reel making you feel behind, that becomes the lens. Not because you're weak or easily influenced, but because that's just how the brain works. It goes where it's pointed. So, point it somewhere intentional. Read a few pages of something that expands you. Listen to a podcast that actually teaches you something. Watch a video that leaves you feeling like, okay, yes, let's go. It doesn't have to be long. Even 10 pages of reading a day adds up to 12-15 books a year. That's not nothing. That's transformational over time. The goal isn't to make yourself feel artificially hyped up either. It's just to arrive at your day already feeling a little elevated, a little clearer, like you're walking in with something, not running on empty. Because the world is going to come at you. The notifications, the demands, the noise, it's all coming. The question is whether you meet it with a full cup or an empty one. So that's the 5. Protect your first 10 minutes. Drink water. Set one intention. Move for 5 minutes. Feed your mind something good. Now, I know what can happen when you watch a video like this. You feel inspired, you take some notes, and then you wake up tomorrow and try to do all 5 at once. And that's great if it works for you. But if it doesn't, please don't quit. Pick one. Just one. Start with the easiest one, the one that made you think, yeah, I could actually do that. Maybe it's the water. Maybe it's the 10-minute phone-free window. Do just that one thing, consistently, for a week. Then add another. Stack them slowly. That's how habits actually stick, not from a perfect first day, but from 100 imperfect ones that you showed up for anyway. Because better, repeated every day. That's how real change happens. Not overnight. Not from one video, but one small, honest decision at a time. Tell me in the comments, which habit are you starting with? I genuinely read every single one. And if this video helped you, share it with someone in your life who could use a reset. That's how this channel grows, and it means everything. Subscribe if you haven't already, and come back next week. I'm covering evening routines. The other half of the equation, the habits that actually set up your morning before it even